Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabe Green. I am the Playhouse's Director of Artistic Development, and welcome to this month's Coffee with the Playhouse. We have a fantastic show for you today. No fewer than 6 members of the creative team of our upcoming world premiere musical, Bhangin It, will be joining us. I'm not sure what the collective noun is for musical theater artists. I'm going to go with cabaret. We have a cabaret of musical theater artists awaiting you today, old chums, so stick around. While we're waiting for people to assemble, we are going to do our typical trivia game. We have 3 questions for you today. What you need to do is write down the answers, the correct answers preferably, of these trivia questions. Email them to subscriber@ljp.org, and you'll be entered for an opportunity drawing to win a $10 gift card to Starbucks, or as they call it at Starbucks, 2 coffees. All right, let's begin with the trivia question. Here's question number 1. In Tiger Style, the 2 siblings at the center of the story decide to abandon their lives and move to what country? This is the play that we produced in 2016 by Mike Lew, who is one of our guests today, the co-book writer, along with Rehana Lew Mirza of Bhangin It. What country did the 2 siblings at the heart of that play visit? Write it down, and here's question number 2. Oh, another Mike Lew question. Here we go. Playwright Mike Lew is a graduate of what San Diego high school, also the original site of La Jolla Playhouse? We have in our artistic library, don't worry, Mike, we are not going to show it here today, but we do have the high school yearbook photo of Mike Lew in our library. It is a welcome presence. It is commented upon by every visiting artist who comes into our library. Again, out of kindness for Mike, we have opted not to show it to you today. All right, one more trivia question. Let's see it. According to the hit song featured in Escape to Margaritaville, what time is it somewhere? Oh man, if there isn't a better Friday morning trivia question, I don't know what it is. All right. Write down the correct answers to those 3 questions. Email it to subscriber@ljp.org. You'll be entered into a drawing for a $10 Starbucks gift card. A couple of quick reminders before we begin. The first is, if you have questions for the Q&A portion of this talk, pop it into the chat, and we'll be sure to include it. Secondly, after this is over, be sure to visit La Jolla Playhouse's YouTube page and hit subscribe, when you'll be notified anytime we have new content posted. All right, that's it for me. It is my great good fortune to introduce the Managing Director of La Jolla Playhouse, Debbie Bucholtz.
Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see you. I hope everybody has their, well, whether it's Starbucks or other coffee, and they're ready to join us. It's a pleasure to have you at our 4th coffee chat of the season. These are really fun, or at least we're all having fun planning them, and we hope that you're enjoying them as well. I hope that you're all watching our Digital Wow and participating with our Digital Wow series that we've been doing since May. Hopefully, I know many of you actually joined us with the Marika Splint piece, You Are Here. If you have kids in your life and you want to make them really happy, we have this beautiful interactive piece called The Wizards of Oakwood Drive that's going on, and we've extended it all the way through the month of September. It's been, I think, 32 different states and 6 different countries. People have seen it and participated in. Families are doing it together and having just a blast. So I hope that you'll, if there's a loved little one in your life, that you'll help give them the joy of theater for the month of September. And finally, we're busy planning and organizing and scheduling. Hopefully we will have an update for you in early October as to when our season and subscription season will begin again. As soon as we know, we will let you know. We appreciate that you are sticking with us and that you are enjoying this morning. And now, since there are such a full cabaret, if you will, of artists joining us this morning, and Bhangin It is such a joyous and wonderful piece. I saw a workshop we did of it last year in New York, and it is just breathtaking and thrilling. So with that being said, I'm going to turn you over to the amazing, incredible, fantastic, rich family artistic director of La Jolla Playhouse, Christopher Ashley. Chris?
Debbie, thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. I'm not sure how I feel about a cabaret of artists. Can we get a little more political? I'm gonna go with cadre for today. Everybody can choose their own collective noun. We, as Gabe mentioned, we have the creative team behind Bhangin It. We have not announced the dates yet for it, but we are very excited and committed to bring this beautiful new show to our stages this coming year. It's a new musical set in the high-stakes world of intercollegiate Bhangra, which is a traditional Punjabi folk dance, which in this show also kind of has morphed into a good old-fashioned American dance-off. So I'm first of all gonna welcome to the screen our show's two book writers. They are also playwrights both and married, Mike Lew and Rehana Lew Mirza. They're currently under commission from the Playhouse for a series of 3 plays they're writing called the Colonialism trilogy. The third segment of which you might have seen in our DNA New Work series. And they were also artists in residence with us in the 2018-2019 season. I'm going to spoil one of our trivia questions. Mike is a La Jolla High School graduate. He was at the Playhouse with his play Tiger Style, and his other credits include Teenage Dick, Bike America, Micro Crisis, and many others. Rehana's plays include A People's Guide to History in the Time of Here and Now, Soldier X, and many more. They're both members of the Ma Yi Theater Company, and they both live in Brooklyn with their 2 children. Please welcome Mike and Rehana.
Hi. Thanks so much for having us.
We are delighted to have you, and your names are even in the right order on your to go with your faces, which I'm sure everyone appreciates. So could you start us off with a little bit more about the story of your musical, in addition to the fact that it's a big dance-off?
Yeah. So we wanted to explore a lot of things. We both love dance movies, and we both I loved Bhangra, and then I introduced Mike to the joy of watching Bhangra. And so we really wanted to follow the story of Mary, a biracial college student who's half white, half Indian, who gets kicked off of her college Bhangra team for not being Indian enough. And so she forms her own ragtag team with her best friend Sunita. And as the 2 teams head on this collision course at nationals, Mary is forced to reckon with her own sense of Indian identity as it relates to Indian dance. And for us, it was really important to capture sort of a second generation, multicultural story because, I guess, look at us and our commonalities and how we brought our families together. It was really important to us to capture the fun of that and how important it is today.
Yeah, I've been thinking so much about the musical as Kamala Harris has been nominated for the Democratic VP slate, the first biracial woman ever to be on a major party ticket, which is exciting. Do you feel like this kind of question of cultural recognition and identity is the current events in the world affecting, do you think, how you think about the show or how people will look at the show?
I feel as though a lot of the questions that are in this musical are really what have been driving a lot of our work for years and years. And I think that the current situation will bring in an audience that's sort of more attuned to it and aware of the things that we've been wrestling with. But the way that the 2 of us met in My U Writers Lab was really started almost as an argument about what is our responsibility as Asian artists, and kind of on my side, I was writing more sort of broad comedies at the time and thinking that am I just sort of by being an Asian American artist and writing whatever, and is that furthering kind of awareness around Asian Americans versus Rehana being a lot more positioned in writing plays that are specifically about South Asians and the South Asian community, and feeling that was important, and we've met in the middle. And so this is just a big fun dance musical that is about college Bhangra and about how it's one of the points of connection for South Asian students when they go to college, to be able to connect with their culture while still being within the everyday college experience. But it sort of explodes out into the existential questions that have really been sort of driving our work for the last 10 years. Yeah, it's almost like the national conversation is
sort of circling around the same questions that we've been sort of circling around. And so what we've sort of discovered in the writing of Bhangin It is that there are no answers, right? There's just like, you can't just serve up an easy answer. It doesn't make for good art to answer questions. It actually makes good art to pose more questions. And so I think that what we're doing is yes-anding some of the things that we're all grappling with to figure out, and adding a few more things into the conversation. And that's really exciting to us as playwrights, is to have sort of a conversation that's on a national scale.
I love that. So you've both done many projects on your own, but we're now working on, I guess, 4 projects together, which you're writing together as a couple, right? The trilogy and Bhangin It. Can you talk about the joys and challenges of being married and writing together?
Yes, we can. I think for this project specifically, what's been really amazing is having our composer, Sam Willmott, who we'll meet later, serving as almost like a referee in a way. like the way that we, the 3 of us started working together was on the 24-hour musicals, which are like short 10-minute new musicals that you pull an all-nighter to create. And the 3 of us got paired together, and Sam was like this 4 a.m. sort of like, I don't think either of you are stupid idiots, and I think that I think that this project is going to work out, and like maybe take a little of your stuff and a little bit of your so he really cemented for us like a working method in a way. But we started out by just kind of being each other's sounding boards for our individual plays, and being very intrigued by what the other person was doing with our individual work, and then as our relationship has progressed and as our politics have kind of advanced together, we're now writing this trilogy together and this musical, and it's like just kind of this crazy mix of like, here, take these kids, and I'm gonna go write a scene. Like, no, okay, give the kids back and take the scene and look at that, and like, it's there's no separation.
I think what we've come to realize what each other's strengths are as writers, and how to like lean on that as a crutch, and then how to know when we were like, I'm not the best person for this part, you take it. It's been a real big part of our learning curve. And then also, I think what helps is that we both center the ruthless investigation of story first and foremost, and we don't, like, that is what we're looking for, and then we don't put anything else in the way of that. So we're able to just been like, I'm not taking offense to the fact that you said that this doesn't work at all. It's not a reflection on me. It's a reflection on the story that we're trying to tell.
I love that. So the like all musicals, there's a many-year kind of gear up to a first production, from the origin story seed of the idea until it's on stage at the Playhouse. And we have worked together on we did a workshop. We've done a couple of readings, and then COVID happened, right? So you've been workshopping by Zoom and virtually, also amidst anti-racism demonstrations in the country, also with 2 young children. Do you want to say anything about what it's like to workshop a new musical in the current world?
We actually quarantined in San Diego for a couple of months in the middle of it, and so my mom was taking the kids for a couple, after like about 4 or 5 weeks of separation. She would take the kids for a couple hours, and then we would work during the day, and then and come pick them up, and so it was
more like 8 hours. A couple hours. It felt like a couple hours.
So that, but like without having sitting support is just impossible to, because we have very young kids, and it's just impossible to work at all. But we've done now 2 workshops to try to refine some of the script, and it's kind of an extension of what we've been doing for all these years. It's like, this started out by just the 3 of us, like Sam and the 2 of us, sitting in rehearsal rooms and sort of dreaming about what scenes could be, and then like really investigating the characters and what we wanted to say. And so that it's actually translated okay to Zoom. Now we're just like really looking forward to when everybody's immunized and everything, and we can get in a room and sort of see what it's like with bodies in space.
We are all, I know I am right there with you. That's like, when I have like happy daydreams of the future, it's actually about being able to be with people again. So let's talk about bring on a couple other of your collaborators. We have Sam Willmott and Deep Singh, Sam is composer and Deep provides additional music, percussion, and co-orchestrations. Sam's credits include Yo Vikings, Scarlet Takes a Tumble, Standardized Testing the Musical, and the Emmy-nominated HBO documentary Song of Parkland. Deep Singh is very impressively a Grammy-nominated musician who has toured the world performing Indian classical concerts. He's truly versatile as a performer, a composer, a producer, and has some extraordinarily innovative collaborations with leading artists from both East and Wests. So let's welcome to the screen Sam and Deep.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to you both. So can you talk to about what drew each of you to the project? What was your origin story with this piece?
I'll start. Is that cool? I'll start because I've been on it for like 10 seconds longer. So what drew me to the piece was Rehana and Mike as people that I wanted to hang out with and people that I respected. You know, they started telling the story a little bit about when we met and that one tour night. And you said before, which I love so much, it's like literally like ours is a collaboration that started as a one night stand and then turned into like a marriage. So tell that to your kids. But after that, we truly spent a year, one calendar year, talking about different ideas, which ranged from everything from adapting different board games to adapting different periods of history. And then after a year, Rehana shows up with this screenplay in hand and is like, I wrote this thing a couple of years ago and it's been sitting in the drawer and like, what about this? And it was just it was gold instantaneously. It was just replete with music, with characters that still exist to this day, with such heart and such energy. And also what I didn't realize, that's what I knew at the time, and what I really didn't realize was also the sort of like the reverberance of what that piece was going to feel like manifested on stage or manifested in human bodies rather than just words on a page. Like when you actually see this happening before you, when you feel the music, when you feel Deep's work, when you create a relationship with Rouge's brilliant choreography and Amy's masterful direction, then that is what really the piece is. So it's been a journey of falling deeper and deeper in love with not only this piece, but this team every day, and Scout's honor on that. So that's my story.
Deep, how did you get involved?
Oh,
you're on mute.
You're muted, Deep.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right on. I've been like crossing paths with like other artists and like who had mentioned to me that Mike and Rehana were looking for somebody, and like I finally met up with them. And we met up several times, like over a period of, I'm guessing, a year and a half to 2 years. And as the team is like getting more and more together, I'm just like, oh, this is perfect. And like also somebody that was like heavily involved in like the Bhangra scene in England, London. I'm kind of like bringing those flavors into this play. And like when I met Sam, I was like, okay, this is like just game over. It was like total connection. This team is incredible to work with. I'm just like so excited. Can we start working now?
Now.
Yeah. So like,
have a work session right in front of an audience. It could be great.
Right. So that's kind of like how I got on board with this incredible team.
Could you give us a little bit of a sense of the musical styles and influences and inspirations of the score?
We sort of like, I'm pretty heavily trained in musical theater traditions in the first place. And so sort of playing with pastiche is something that is always very appealing to me, and like accessing different styles, sounds in order to create a more thrilling landscape and in order to flesh out characters. But one of the things that felt combination like such an untapped possibility, but also with so many question marks about how it would actually feel or how it would manifest, is the fact that sort of Indian music on a whole so multifaceted, thousands of years worth of history, and yet really hasn't made so many appearances in the musical theater. And so, the kinds of pastiche or the kinds of reference points that we typically play with in musical theater are from a very small subset of like the music that exists in the world. And so it's been a combination of like kid in a candy store trying to play with all these sounds, but then also like they come with consequences. They have cultural ramifications. They have, like I said, histories attached to them, personalities attached to them, and maintaining that integrity while you are also doing storytelling work, while you are trying to create a score that functions as a unit, is the project. So the styles range from anything from like musical theater stuff to the kinds of stuff you're going to hear kids singing in college these days. Anything from sort of like nouveau funk to hip hop kind of stuff to like really musical theater-y stuff, because sometimes I just can't control myself. And then within the scheme of Indian music, we have a lot of Bhangra. We have ghazal, which is a certain kind of North Indian classical music that we reference. We have a Bollywood sequence, which is based on a qawwali rhythm. We have all these different kinds of elements that are blended together that come out of many, many, many long and arduous talks between the entire creative team at large.
And are there instruments that have not made an appearance in a American musical theater world before?
Yeah, and Deep plays all of them at once.
I like these instruments have like started to get, like the tabla is a very common instrument, which is like sort of entering into the pop world and also into the hip hop world. Like, so the sounds are common to most people, but like they may not recognize what the instrument is. But they will definitely see all these instruments in this show and they'll go, oh, that's that. Oh, that's that. So it's kind of cool.
And how do you two collaborate together, Sam and Deep?
I would say, and Deep, I'm so interested to hear your version of this. So basically the genesis of every moment in the show tends to start on the writing team, and at least on the writing team, but also with other people's input usually, but at least the three of us. And then, and so coming from a place of story and coming from a place of character, but pretty quickly thereafter, it will turn into, I do sort of my research. I have like a whole sort of like sonic vision board that I've laid out to myself of like things that over the years like feel like reference points, even if I can't articulate why, that I sort of access over time and keep track of. And then I have long conversations with Deep, with Ian Eisendrath, our spectacular music supervisor, and proud La Jolla alum, and Amy and Rouge to have big conversations about how these songs are actually going to function. So then I write the songs, I write the music and the lyrics, and then I pass them off to team music.
Right. So
that, well, I'm just going to turn down my television, which just popped on. While you finish that.
Ghosts. There's ghosts.
Underrated.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Party time.
Never leave the children alone.
Never.
Was there misbehavior while I was gone?
Yeah, we rebudgeted the houses next month.
So let's we're gonna create a little audiovisual extravaganza for a moment. We have a video which showcases some of the dance and feel of Bhangin It. This is performed by cast members in their home, and it was just created over the last week or two. So you want to roll a Bhangin It video?
Actually, can I say something before you roll that?
Please.
So like this is kind of a funny story. So like I tend like because of this whole quarantine situation, where everyone's working from home, and I have a private recording studio which I practically live in out in Brooklyn. But like now I'm in Manhattan here, and I bought some gear to my apartment here so I can function from home. And so I don't play loud instruments, drums, and the door is probably louder than a drum set. And so I'm just like, how am I going to do this? Like I've got one take to do this, and like so everyone claps at 7 o'clock, right? So I'm just like, record 7 o'clock. So this is how this was recorded at 7 o'clock while everyone was clapping.
Responders applause? I had no idea.
That's when this was done.
I love it.
Right.
So roll video when you're ready. So good.
Woo!
I love that your story about recording that while everybody's applauding
7 o'clock.
professionals at 7 o'clock. It was also very much featured our choreographer along with performers from the show. So let's welcome our two other creative team members to the screen. Amy Anders Corcoran, and who is our director and choreographer, Rujuta Vaidya. Amy, they're both coming to the screen. Amy and I have worked many times together. She was the associate director on Escape to Margaritaville and Freaky Friday, and also directed the Margaritaville tour. She directed the off-Broadway musical Unexpected Joy. She's directed at Goodspeed musicals and the Oslo in Florida and the Guthrie Theater, and upcoming has a project with Disney. So welcome, Amy. Rouge is an internationally recognized choreographer. Her credits include a Bollywood-style piece for the Britney Spears The Circus Tour, and the Wall-E and Slumdog Millionaire performances at the 2009 Academy Awards. She worked on Disney's The Cheetah Girls 3, One World, and she worked on the Bollywood hits Tara Rumpum, Jonaman, among many, many others. So welcome, Amy. Welcome, Rouge. Delighted to have you with us.
Thank you.
I want to throw you the same question I was just asking Sam and Deep. What's the collaboration like between direction and choreography so far? We're there's lots of road left in front of us, but so far, how does the collaboration work?
Rouge, you want to take it?
Sure.
Okay.
It's been actually really fantastic because somehow, I don't know, maybe this is a match made in heaven, because somehow we all seem to very quickly be able to get on the same page. It starts, I think as Sam mentioned, it starts with the writing team, and then they kind of bring what they have over to us, and then we give it a listen. And, between Amy and I, and then music and writers, we kind of hash it out a little bit, but quickly we get to where we need to get, and we're all on the same page, which I don't think happens with a lot of projects. There's always someone who might, think very differently, or just have a completely different viewpoint. And it takes a while to get to that place. But for whatever reason, we've all just been on the same track or mindset from the get-go, which is, I think it's a very beautiful and wonderful way of working.
This is a really collaborative team. To add to that, we all have very strong opinions. And it's helpful because nobody lets anything fester, which I find is one of my favorite things about this team. No one just goes home and, sort of grumbles or side texts. We just say it right there. And I think that's one of my favorite things about this team, which I actually think allows us to do very quick collaboration, because we all weigh in. We're like, Amy, we disagree with you, and here's why. And I'm quickly brought on board with logic, and that's helpful. And the thing I would just like to say about working with Rouge is that Rouge immediately was the kind of collaborator that I love, who takes an idea and runs. And like, could we do this? And she's like, we can do that. And so to the idea, someone said earlier, yes, and that is very much in the vein of the way this team works together. Yes, and I love it all.
I love that you just used the phrase side text. It's like side eye in the current world has become side texting. That's a beautiful thing. So Rehana, I think even in this conversation, referred to the piece as a dancicle. Do you want to talk a little bit about, in the piece, there's this kind of collision of, one of the characters is very invested in the dance team representing traditional Punjabi dance styles. And there's also an impulse to like, let's recreate it. Let's make something new for now. And that kind of tension between tradition and newness, or some kind of American influence. Can you talk a little bit about how that works in the show and how that works in the dance?
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry. Rouge. Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to add into that. I feel like for the mantra, like that was sort of how we all, as a team, all came together, and that was where all of us had like a little bit of input on that, and that's almost sort of how the dance itself is equated too, like in terms of like how we figure out what style it is. Because I think one of the problems we had in writing the script is that Bhangra competitions, they vary so much, and so like how do you choose which style you're gonna do? Like there are people that just throw in a bunch of stuff, and like how do you create that conflict through the dance, how the dance evolves over the course of the entirety of the musical. And so that was a question posed to Rouge, and so Rouge figured it out. You could talk to that too. Sorry.
Figured it out. Yes. I think it's been interesting and fun to actually play with the movement, because we have so much room actually to play, because there's parts of the show which are so traditional, which is great, and there's parts of the show which is like completely edgy and totally, of the time of the youth, current, really, really fun and pop generation, I guess you can say. But being able to explore both worlds has been really amazing, because a lot of projects you either do one or the other. But in this show, we're getting to do so many different styles. Yes, it is a show which focuses on the Bhangra style, but we also have a lot of Kathak, which is Indian classical dance. And then we have little bits of Bollywood dance, as well as some, hip hop and, crumping, and a lot of different styles. So it's going to be a really fun show, and just a wide spectrum of movement, which is great.
Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about what did you learn from the last workshop, and what have you been working on in the last 6 months through the crazy Zoom workshop process?
Yeah, happy to. So we had our last time together was basically a table read of the latest draft, which is in February, which feels like years ago to me. I don't know about everyone else. And we were all just like bouncing around, sharing food at a Thai restaurant that day. But how times have changed. So basically what I have discovered throughout all my projects that are happening right now, and I'm sure everyone has as well, is that I'm now in adapt or die mode, right? These projects have got to keep moving forward. And to Mike's point of like, we thought we couldn't develop it. We have to, right? We have to figure out how to keep moving forward. There were moments, the writers, I think it's fair to say that almost everyone on this team is at least type A, if not type A minus. So we have like so many people who are very organized. So we had a list of things we wanted to accomplish. And then given that, and given great support from the Playhouse, we sort of broke it down, starting at the top of the show. So the first session was a week of, now we have people all over. Rouge is now in India. We had West Coast, we had East Coast. Everyone on this team, minus Sam, has a child or children. So that's helpful if you have one, because everyone understands, and Sam is probably the most understanding of any of us. But we took a week and we started with the opening number, did a reboot of that for a week. And this week we've been working on moving forward. So that was a smaller group of people, right? Just going into the scene right after with what we've learned, and going into a More Than Enough, which is our second song of the show, reboot. And then we'll just keep moving that way. So, we're getting creative. It's adapt or die, and we will get there, and we will just do it in a little different way, and just really, really hope that we can put it on actor bodies sometime next spring, so that we can see all the, movement and transitional things we want to bring in Rouge for.
Love that. I've thought so much about your creative team. I've been in many, many rooms on multiple projects, and sort of Zoom sessions and Q&As of eclectic groups of people trying to work their way through the anti-racism moment we're living through, and trying to figure out how do you arrive at a vocabulary, and how do you be able to talk openly with each other about the things that have felt like microaggressions or have hurt each other, and how do you assume good intent, and how do you try to be part of really moving the society forward to a more just place. I feel like you all were modeling really good collaboration in an eclectic group way before the society was even having this conversation. And I think about the ways that you work. I've thought about that a lot in the last couple of months. Do you want to talk about like why are you so good at it? But also, are there challenges? Like how has your group figured that out so far?
I think that the very first impulse for creating this whole project was thinking about, well, Rehana and I were very new to musicals. We'd written a lot of plays, but this was our first full-length musical. And, we were taking our love of Bhangra and Sam's love of traditional and encyclopedic knowledge of traditional theater, and sort of thinking about how do you widen this genre to include more people, and how would you put Bhangra within the context of an American musical. And it's important also to note that it's like, this is American college students that are a lot of whom are South Asian, that are relating to their culture. And so that was the first sort of impulse, was just like, let's widen the stage for more people to fit on it. And from that, like as Sam said, like, there's consequences to the way that we're deploying Indian styles and the way that we're deploying American styles. And so like the conversation stems out of that, and it's about looking at the characters and how they relate to their culture, and sort of like what it means to have like a biracial protagonist, and to think you have these two Bhangra teams with very different styles colliding, and sort of what that means in a larger political sense. And we're just really invested in having a team that is both diverse, but that also has experts in their respective fields who can who get a voice and have an equity stake in the process. And that's where it's coming from.
I mean, I think the starting premise has to be solid, right? Like you have to come in with like this, like the foundation of it is like, we want to be inclusive. And so like, it's not coming in with a different premise of like, we want to create this story and then be inclusive. Like, and actually in the building of the bones of it, that was really important to us as a team. And I think it's about empowering many perspectives was really important to us. And I think that we failed. We weren't afraid of failing. Like, I think our first workshop, I felt sick to my stomach and like had to lie down because I was like, oh God, I'm putting out evil. And Sam understood that, and Mike understood that too. And like, we all felt it. We weren't, I think we all saw, and we made a commitment to always trying to do our best, right? And always trying to like put that forward. And I think that like being unafraid is a big part of it, because I think when we make decisions out of fear, it often puts us in territory that's familiar, but not necessarily a good choice in terms of what social justice and art-wise we want to create.
Yeah, the very first draft, because the musical largely follows the template of like this underdog team that comes from behind, right? So it's like, if you have this ragtag multicultural team that's like brand new to Bhangra against a sort of team of Bhangra assassins, and the ragtag team wins, which is what the sort of genre dictates, then essentially you're saying that these sort of Bhangra newbies would be better than like a team that's been doing it for years, that is coming from that tradition, and it felt icky. And so then we went back and sort of thought through the consequences of like when you take that template and put it within this context, like how would you weave your way to sort of something that's more truthful? And those conversations were really difficult, and like the three of us had to take a breath and retrench. And I think that those difficult conversations keep happening, and it's built on a trust for our collaborators and on really brutal, honest conversations.
Fantastic. Hey, let's throw open to any questions we've got from our studio audience. Is not what this group is. Our online audience. Gabe's going to join us. He's wise in the ways of fielding questions. What do you got for us, Gabe?
Well, first, there's a question that we wanted to throw out to everybody on the call. We've referenced quite a bit of what's going on in the world, and just through sheer desire of inspiration, we want to know, how are you finding joy right now? How do you find a respite and carve out moments of joy for yourself?
Not everyone at once.
I'll start. I find joy and respite with this team, and that's just fundamentally true. The times in the last couple of months that I have felt the safest are being able to be on these Zooms with these people, and because I trust I trust in our conversation. We get to come together and imagine and trade in our optimism together, and we get to create a world, even if it's only for 2.5 hours, but a world that is exciting and promising to all of us. And being able to have not only that, well, it's like it starts as an escape, but it becomes internally galvanizing, and it's something that I then take into the rest of my life. Being able to have these tough conversations. Our team is always best when we're fighting with each other, like always. Our love language is fighting, but that's where we have dynamism between us. That's where we're communicating. That's where we're feeling heard and feeling represented. So that when I'm able to do that with these people, then like I feel like I'm more capable to take that into the rest of my life. That's my answer.
Anybody else want to hit the where do you find joy before we move on? Sold. Gabe, I don't want to steal your thunder, but there was a question from Jenna Tansa wanting to know how much input the writers give to Amy as director, like what that writer-director relationship is like. Maybe we'll throw that to you guys.
You want to? I'm happy to start, and then you can say, actually, we don't give you that much power. No, I actually came to this piece after they had worked with a couple of other directors in smaller ways, and because I had already been on the road to my own anti-race work as a director and a collaborator, when this project came to me, I read it, fell in love with the story immediately, and immediately said, yeah, I'm not the right person for this. This is not my story to tell. Wow, do I love this character. I love his people, not my story. And the person who gave me the script, just meet them. Just meet them. Just go to the meeting. Just see if you all like each other. And I thought, well, okay. And then I met them, and of course, they didn't need me to be anything except what I am. And I think to the point of earlier, I mean, one of my favorite things about musical theater is collaboration, period. Always has been. That's why I wanted to be a director. I love it if I have an idea and the scenic designer says, yes, but we could also do this, or the yes and idea, right? And this team constantly makes me feel heard and teaches me. And I think for a director, the best thing that can happen is that you are allowed to have artistic freedom and also be heard. We had great conversations this week about these young women. I mean, the reality of our team, just to not out anyone, but Sam is the youngest, and the rest of us are a little older than college. So to put, one of the constant things we're doing is remembering those college times and how kids do and say things that they don't really understand the weight of, right? They just, it's like kids not really thinking they're going to get COVID, right? They're like, whatever, it doesn't affect me. It's very similar. These things don't seem permanent. And one of the things that this team constantly does is, Sam is our resident musical theater expert, no question. I have a master's degree in directing for the musical stage. I have quite a bit myself, plus I come from music. I used to be a choreographer first, mostly tap. But anyway, so I have a relationship with dance musicals. But I think this team is really good about hearing what I have to say. And sometimes it's as simple as, hey, you know what? I'm going to need a little more time for a costume change there. And they're like, okay. Right? It could be that, because that's also part of my job. But I would say they certainly bounce things off me, and then we we keep tossing the ball. There's a lot of ball tossing amongst this team, and it's great fun.
You know, since you referenced Sam's age, I do have to say there is a question. Susie Taylor asks Sam, "How long have you been in the biz?"
Susie, we love you. God bless you. I've been in the biz. I've been in the biz variously, as is true for a lot of emerging artists now. Like I'm 33, and I have been working in the biz for 11 years. But I'm also very, very proud to say that this is my first production, and I couldn't ask for a bit bigger dream come true. So.
Oh, you were 33 when we met you 10 years ago. What the hell,
Sam? a lot of grapefruit seltzer water. That's the secret. And good lighting.
You do have good lighting, Sam. You have good Zoom lighting.
Thank you. Work in progress.
The local connections are proving plentiful on this. We do have a note to you, Mike. Sharon, who is Sasha Bucholtz's mom, says hi and go Vikings. I like that we're in this completely new virtual age, and yet it still comes down to, hey, the person you went to high school with says hi. It's really the larger the world gets, the smaller it actually gets.
Ari, who was in the video, is also San Diegan, although I tried to have a conversation with her about it, and then I was like, I have no idea geographically anything, so we should stop talking. And you should talk to Mike and his family.
Also, just another illustration of how small the world is. Ari was the co-author of one of the pieces in our 2019 Without Walls Festival, the piece about suffragists and the sort of pageantry of the last 100 years of, the fight to achieve voting rights and then beyond. So she's a hyphenate, like so many people on this call.
She is.
I like that in the chat. We've also got several of the staff members are on, Deb Hatch and Jacob Sinclair, and people who are looking forward to working on the show with you guys from staff.
Oh, yay! Hi, staff. We can't wait either.
That's right. Deb Hatch said, can't wait to do the props on this show.
Yay! I can't wait for that either.
Excellent. Well, it's been a true pleasure to connect with you all. Thank you for giving your Saturday mornings or early afternoons, depending on where you're based. And we're now going to throw it back to Debbie Bucholtz for the final word.
Hi, everybody. This, I think, is the most geographically diverse group because you're the outlier there in India, Rouge. And thank you for joining us. And for I'm not sure what time of day it is there, but thank you for joining us. I know it's a different day than it is here.
Yes, it's nighttime. Friday night, late night.
Well, we hope everybody enjoyed. It's a beautiful screen of so many different Zoom things. So thank you to all of the artists and to Chris and Gabe, who are of course also artists, for joining us this morning. I hope that we've whetted everyone's appetite for an amazing new musical, or when we get back to doing this bit of what we do. Wishing all of you just a healthy and very happy weekend. Have fun, find joy. I think that's a great choice. We should all go and find joy in the ways that we can. And again, just thank all of you who are on this call, who are watching, who are so invested in what we do at the Playhouse. We do it for you and couldn't do it without you. And we appreciate you very much. So you all be well. And we look forward to you joining us for the next one of these. Coffee with the Playhouse. Take care, everyone.
Right on. Bye-bye.